Welcome to episode 7 of Cooking and Booking presented by Ball is Life. My name is Sara Jane and this is my co-host, Looch. What is going on, Looch? It's been a hot minute.
It's been a minute, but you know what? We came at the best time. March Madness Finals. It's about to end, but it's been a hell of a tournament so far, honestly.
It really has. And, life got a little bit in the way.
Yeah.
Maybe we can compare our brackets, but
yeah.
I'm excited to catch up with you today. See what's going on in the bracket.
My bracket is a disaster. It's so bad. Like honestly,
Which one did you do both?
I did two. One I had UConn winning, so that one's still okay. The other one we're just gonna pretend I didn't do it. And
why? What did you have? Tell me.
Honestly, I had Grand Canyon going to the Final Four. Wow. Yeah, I went hot. Super hot take. Super hot take. And I did
sizzling.
I did Purdue winning that one, but everything in between is we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, and we're gonna move. I wanted one hot take for every bracket. Actually, the truth is, you remember when Loyola Chicago went on that crazy run once?
I do.
I actually put them to win for fun, and I was in like a top 2% bracket because I picked them, and
that's insane.
Yeah, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna try it again. This time it failed miserably, but we're not gonna talk about that too much.
We'll break it down.
Yeah, we'll break it down for sure.
Welcome on back. Hope you're doing well. We apologize for having a little bit of a couple weeks off, but we have a good show for you today.
Yes.
So if you don't know, the women's championship is today at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and the men's championship game is tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So couple of news trending I wanted to talk about and get your opinion.
Yeah.
Bronny James, son of LeBron James, declared for the 2024 NBA Draft. Entered the transfer portal, was at University of Southern California, USC, for 1 year. And he still is maintaining his college eligibility.
Yeah.
So would love to hear your thoughts, maybe what you think it's, what he's going to do.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I know everyone's gonna, harp on the kid because listen, his dad is one of the best players, or if not the best player of all time. He's definitely getting the benefit of having, the James last name. I hate to be that guy, but it is the truth. I mean, it's not like he was a college standout. He was a good player, not a fantastic player.
Right.
Declaring, I personally think it's more of a media thing. It's just, like, now everybody's talking about him declaring. I don't think he should be drafted. I think he should take another year to develop. I know he declared just if he doesn't get drafted, he still has his college eligibility, which is good.
Right.
I don't know where I think necessarily he's gonna go next. I don't know if UFC is the best place for him. I just think he needs more minutes. He needs time to develop. I want to see him go to a program that's a little less strong, but he'll get, his 30-ish minutes a game, see what he's capable of.
Right.
And then if he doesn't shine there, then, maybe, the NBA might not be in his cards, but
right.
Yeah.
And it very well may not be, I mean,
there's nothing wrong with it. It's
no.
There's a lot of pressure on him. I know he's feeling it. You have a lot of expectations to live up to. I know he has health conditions too. I know they said it's cleared, but I hope obviously he remains healthy. That's the most important thing. Like I said, I hope he balls on next season. I don't think he's going to get drafted. I think if he does get drafted, I think he's going to be rushed into it, and it's just horrible for his development. I hope the NBA teams just lay off him, let him run another year in college, see how he does. He balls on next year, sure, let's draft him. But and what about you? Thoughts on Bronny?
Well, we agree on something for once.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No. Listen, I mean, he averaged like 4.8 points. And I think for me, exactly what you said. Andy Enfield ended up leaving for SMU, the coach who recruited him. And a lot of the times we see this, like with Nick Saban, a lot of these guys were entering the transfer portal. But, Boogie Ellis and Isaiah Collier, like those guys were ahead of him, and he was never gonna get those minutes.
Yeah.
But it will give him a chance. I think Shams put this out to work out for NBA teams.
Yeah.
But have your eligibility. So whether it's Ohio State, LeBron's been tweeting a lot about Duquesne, who made somewhat of a run this year.
Yeah, I saw that. That would be. I actually, now that I think about it, I think that would be a great fit.
I was kind of putting it 2-2 together. I said maybe Ohio State, maybe Duquesne, but his talent is raw right now. You know, he got to get his draft stock up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, I think he'd be like a G League, honestly, just because he hasn't had the time to play. But to your point about the health, you think of guys like Alonzo Mourning and these guys that had pre-existing conditions. Gosh, the guy that played for the Trailblazers, Spurs, I'm losing my thought here.
I'll find it now that we're gonna find it.
You know, health issues.
Yeah.
And you know, they had to cut their career short. So I think the most important thing for Bronny is to put your health first. Make sure you're good. Make sure you're well conditioned.
Yeah.
And see what he does. But I think putting pressure on him, you know, LeBron said I would never want to be put pressure on anybody at 18. Well, he's got a lot of pressure.
He's got on it. I know his dad's not giving the pressure, but the media is giving a lot of pressure. Like, can he succeed with his dad? Can he play with his dad? So like, I think a team, if he gets drafted this year, it would just be taking him just to kind of get the package with LeBron, because LeBron said he's going to go wherever obviously his son goes.
Right.
So
right.
I know for a marketing reason, it might be, you know, a team in the second round might just say, oh gosh, like we can get LeBron too, like for
just
a year.
For marketing.
Yeah, like sell a couple jerseys and it's, you know, it's a business too, but I just hope for his sake he can, you know, be healthy and develop and let's see where it could take him, right?
Well, that's all you can hope. And, you know, I understand LeBron, you know, expressing several times he wants to play with his son, which would be the first father-son duo to simultaneously do that in the NBA history.
It's crazy.
But at the end of the day, that's not really setting him up, his son Bronny up for success long term.
No, it's definitely not.
And it would leave him on a terrible team probably. Let's just say the Pistons draft him or something, right? Like, I don't know their long-term plan. Maybe the Washington Wizards, like we don't know their long-term plan.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something to keep an eye for. I'm glad he maintained his eligibility, but excited to see where he goes.
Yeah.
And what decision he makes. I'm assuming that he's going to stay in the NCAA, but
I think so too. Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, moving on, we have some women's basketball news.
Yes.
The WNBA draft is coming up. We will have boots on the ground for that. And a couple of players entered the transfer portal, and Camila Cardoso of the Gamecocks, she's going to the WNBA. Caitlin Clark declared. Paige Beckers is returning to UConn. And Angel Reese of LSU declared. Now, Hailey Van Lith went to LSU for 1 year, is entering the transfer portal and did not declare for the WNBA draft. Thoughts on that?
Honestly, I really did think she was going to declare. I know Paige was, I didn't know, but I figured she was going to come back for one more season, you know, injuries and COVID year, and it makes sense. I actually didn't expect that, because I was looking at a lot of mock drafts in the last like month or so, and I feel like she would have been, maybe not a top 3 pick, but she would have been a pretty decent pick. And honestly,
definitely a lottery, like a
definitely a lottery.
12,
definitely a higher. I think she would have ended up on a good team. Like if you really think about it,
I think the Liberty had her projected. I think they have 12.
Yeah, so I mean, think about 11. That, right? Like imagine,
Isn't that
like
crazy?
She, sometimes when you're a good player, like it's not bad to get drafted by the Liberty. Like they're a great team. She'll obviously come off the bench in the beginning, but I guess she's gonna let it, run it back one more year, maybe just because there's a lot of heavy hitters in the draft this year. Maybe she wants to like stand up above the rest next year. I know she was getting a lot of, not hate, but for the Iowa game, obviously Caitlin Clark went just insane and she was guarding her and whatever. But I don't think the reason she went back to the transfer portal is because of that. It's it's one game. Like even the best players have a bad game, but I think she just wants to increase her draft stock. The question is, where is she going to go?
I mean, I know before she transferred, she went to Louisville, where she actually averaged over 19 points a game. And I know that, I don't know if these are, actual reports, but I know Stanford was in the mix, but the Pac-12's dying and Cameron Brink just went. And also I feel like it's South Carolina.
So I was going to bring that up. I saw that on Twitter that people were saying, oh, it's South Carolina. So I was figured, okay, maybe that's it.
But here's the thing, Looch.
Yeah.
I can't see that because she left Louisville to come to LSU to win a championship.
Yeah.
And what did that do for her? Her numbers went down, and it wasn't her fault. You have a bunch of talent on that team.
Exactly.
Morrow, Reese, Michaela Williams is a freshman. You just have too much talent. She had to adapt to new positions, and all of her draft stock went down. Her numbers went down. She was only averaging like 11 points per game.
Yeah.
And honestly, as much as I love her as a player, she was terrible in the tournament.
Yeah.
And
it's too much talent on one team.
Yeah. And I think going to another talented team is just you might as well declare for the draft at that point.
Yeah.
Because South Carolina has some heavy hitters, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And UConn's is gonna have heavy hitters. So I don't know where she's gonna go.
I'm curious. I really have no idea, honestly, but I guess we'll see.
Maybe like an Ohio State or something, or maybe an Iowa State, or maybe Iowa. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
but...
actually, that's true. I forgot because Clark's gone now, so she could take over the reins there. That'd be some pretty big shoes
to fill.
I know.
But yeah, speaking of that LSU Iowa game for women's basketball, it drew in the most bettors in women's basketball history.
I know.
And
look at that.
Very cool.
That's honestly the talent in the WNBA now has made the league so marketable, and I see it like on all social media platforms. Like the women's game is just exploding. Like I think this is the bubble that needed to be burst, and now it's just gonna take off. Like I think the WNBA season, like within the next few years, like Juju Watkins, Paige Buchers, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, like all these names that are coming up is just going to take it. It's going to explode.
Yeah.
I really do.
And there's a lot of freshmen this year. A lot of people didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
Much to Caitlin Clark's success, a lot of them were undershadowed, to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think betting's going to get even more popular in women's sports.
Yeah.
I do want to say I really wish a lot of these apps had women's sports like options to see like where the money's going. And that's just a general statement. I just do not understand how these betting companies just don't put it in there.
Yeah. I noticed that like this year DraftKings like totally like I would have to get the bet in like 30 minutes before the game. Like it just wasn't available. FanDuel's a little bit better, but it's like it was very limited. Yeah, like they need to expand it a little bit more. Well, I think here's the thing. I don't think they put the resources into it if not a lot of people are betting on it. But now that, a lot of more eyes on it, I think they do. I think they are.
I mean, that's the thing.
Actually, that's true. How can you bet on something if it's not there? Like
people are saying people don't bet on women's basketball. Then how was that the Iowa LSU game was the most bet on professional game, like in any baseball game that day, in any NBA game that day.
It was booming. Yeah, it's booming. I hope next year the resources are a little better to at least put our bets in. But we'll see. We'll see.
I hope so. But moving on, today's a championship game for the women's, South Carolina and Iowa. I had a bracket. I don't know if you ended up, I pull up my bracket here.
I'm gonna pull mine up.
If you actually had a bracket.
Yeah, I did it. I'm gonna pull mine up right now. Here.
My men's bracket was really bad. Like really bad, people.
Yeah, mine was horrendous. I'm trying to open it up right now. Here. I finished percent-wise, I finished 36.8%. I mean,
in the men's?
In the men's, yeah.
Okay.
I have Purdue winning. I don't think they're gonna win, but
really, I mean, listen, anything can happen.
It can, yeah, that's true. But my bracket's not great. I did not do well. How about you?
I think I was at my men's bracket. I was at 55.9%, and my women's, I'm at 90.1%.
Wow.
I got a little fire symbol next to my name.
Wow. Okay, I'm not even. Women's, I'm 74%, but 90% is crazy. Nice, well done.
Yeah, I would say I'm heavily probably. By the way, I have my UConn shirt on. I am a UConn alum. But I heavily into women's basketball this year, and it's been amazing. So, I would love to get our takes in the women's real quick. I know Iowa defeated LSU. That was a heck of a showdown, and defeated Connecticut by a couple of points.
Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up is UConn's defense and the way they smothered Caitlin Clark.
Oh my, yeah.
And on that controversial call with 9 seconds to go on Aaliyah Edwards.
Yeah, I want to hear your take. I want to hear your take on that. What do you think?
Listen, I ruffled a few feathers on Twitter.
It's okay.
I've never seen so many grown men talk about this in my life, and I said, "This is awesome."
Actually, that's good. That's sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing.
But I think in basketball, it's a lot like football, right? There are, excuse me, there's holding calls in 90% of football snaps, right? And when you talk at basketball, when you look at the screens, 90% of the time you're going to be moving someone on a screen, right? It's the refs' jobs to call out the most obvious plays. Like in the NFL, we saw the James Bradbury weak holding call a couple of years ago to cost the Eagles the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But my opinion is it shouldn't have come down to this possession. Connecticut didn't make some shots. I understand that.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was such a great game. But you got to get let the players play. When you are inconsistent on both sides of the floor, you need to let these players play. It's the last possession of a game, and you're going to call.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see she wasn't moving, but the weakest offensive screen I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the men's games, their screens are a lot worse than that.
Yeah, they're moving.
They're moving. And I just thought it was a weak call. I mean, everyone was like, well, she was moving. It was the right call. It was just the fact that they were inconsistent, and you let the players play.
Yeah.
And UConn had the chance to get the shot off, right? And make maybe history.
Yeah. I know.
That's the way the cookie crumbled.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. I see your point where if it was happening all game or they were calling that all game, you could kind of be like, okay, like the ref was really, strict on this today. But if it was just a one-off call with X amount of seconds left, I forgot how many seconds left for.
It was like 9 seconds.
Yeah, it was
but on either side, if it happened to Iowa, I would have been upset.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't.
It was a terrible call.
Yeah, I know it has nothing to do with like UConn. I know it was like all over Twitter. People were just going crazy about it on either side of the spectrum. They were just going nuts.
Actually, I think I blocked someone that that we have mutual friends. It was somebody that streams Madden, and they don't. And listen, I'm all for people tweeting about women's basketball, but I did not know there were screen experts out yesterday in full force.
Honestly, I didn't even. When I was away, I didn't even really check social media, so I don't know the story.
It was crazy.
I don't know the story behind it, but I know that. Yeah, I guess some people just probably went crazy on the topic.
Yeah.
Damn.
But one thing I do want to point out, Paige Beckers had 17 points, 7 of 17. And Caitlin Clark finished with 21 points, but she went 3 from 11 from deep. So that UConn defense was pretty stifling on her.
Yeah. I got a chance to watch, and they played her as well as they could play her. Really, I know they lost, but tip the cap because she's the best player in women's basketball, and they just suffocated her. She still put up a good performance, but to her standard, it's like holding LeBron to like under 20 points. It's like it's a good day. It's a good day for
It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day. So just at the end of the day they lost, but I was moving on.
Yep. And shout out to Hannah Stolke that game, 23 points. And Iowa we'll talk about here in a second with South Carolina. Their box and one defense was absolutely amazing against UConn. They've been running that scheme. So heading into today's game, we have 2 number 1 seeds. We have Iowa and South Carolina.
Yes.
If you did not know, Iowa ruined South Carolina's perfect season last year.
Crazy.
In the Final Four.
And we go again.
And it's a revenge game for South Carolina.
Yeah.
And on Staley.
Yeah. Oh my. Let's see. There's one game. What's your take? What do you think?
I'm looking at the odds. I can finally get them. So South Carolina is favored by 6.5.
Yes.
Over under 160.5. They have all these props like Caitlin Clark and Camila Cardoso to combine for 50 points.
Yeah, they have all kinds of boosts, and I mean that's a good thing, honestly.
Yeah, I love it.
If you to grow the sport being bet on, once they offer these boosts, that means there's money being placed on it, which is good. Yeah, it's great for the game. I think I like these little boosts, and I mean I don't play them too often, but just to see it available is great. It's amazing. But let's what do you got? This is big game, revenge game, 3:00 finals on a Sunday. All eyes are going to be on this game because it's a Sunday. It's quiet, no football, no Masters yet, no nothing. It's all eyes on Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina.
Well, one thing I want to say, I expect this game to break records viewership wise and betting wise. UConn Iowa became the top betting game, and I don't know if you know this, but they topped out at 17 million and an average of 14.2 million viewers.
Crazy.
Which is the most college event ever on ESPN Plus.
Wow.
That was incredible yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was ESPN's second best non-football telecast ever. Wow. So I'm expecting a lot of people to tune in today.
Yeah.
And listen, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage because there's not as many betting stats for the women. So I had to kind of go back and look at their spread coverage and everything kind of manually, which really kind of sucks.
Yeah, I know.
It really kind of sucks in that sense. But I'm going to tell you right now, do I want to change my bet?
You can. Hey, listen, this is the bets have to be placed before 3. This could have been your, maybe if you wake up at 7:00, you think Iowa. Maybe you at 10, maybe at 2:59, you're thinking it's gonna be South Carolina. You're allowed.
I mean, listen, I want to tell the people what they want to hear. I don't want.
Yeah.
Listen, don't bet your mortgage.
Yeah. Do not.
Tail carefully.
Yeah.
No, listen, I would love to say South Carolina. I mean, they're the most dominant team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Dawn Staley has built a dynasty over there in South Carolina, and they're headed back to their third finals here, and are 6th in her career. So as much as I want to say South Carolina is going to steamroll them by 6.5, we did see them struggle a little bit. They obviously got that win over NC State, where they opened the gap really in that third quarter. They had a history making 29-6 third quarter, but we saw them blow leads to Oregon State. We saw them blow leads in that, barely win that Indiana game, and I'm gonna take Iowa to cover here. There's no way that you go in and you beat LSU and Kim Mulkey and you beat University of Connecticut, and you're back here for a reason. And this line is not exactly low. It's 6.5. I think it's
points. Yeah,
it's a lot of points. And do I think Iowa's going to win outright? No, I don't. The last time Caitlin Clark played against South Carolina, she had 41 points. But what a lot of people don't understand is that South Carolina clamped her up.
Yeah.
If you remember that game.
Yeah.
And she went 15-31 from the field, which is still 50%. But she also went 5 for 17 from the 3.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about South Carolina, Dawn Staley, what makes them so dangerous and why I even love the money line. I mean, it's high. It's high at 250, but 290, but I still think there's some value there if you can swing it.
Yeah.
They have one of the best benches in the game.
Mm.
Yes, they have Camila Cardoso, Defensive Player of the Year, AP All-American.
Yeah.
She's incredible on both sides of the ball. She's 6'7". Hopefully she's healthy.
Yeah. But
you have other players. If you run the offense and the defense through her, you have Raven Johnson. This is a revenge game for her.
Yeah.
Tahina Paopao. You have Malaysia Fulwiley there. There's just so many incredible women on this team. And I just don't see South Carolina, who's a top team offensively and defensively, and ranks top 10 in several statistical categories, just outright losing to Iowa.
Yeah. I honestly, I have the same opinion in a sense that I think South Carolina wins, but I think Iowa keeps it close. In games of this magnitude, whether it's football, hockey, basketball, whatever, I did it in football, I did it in hockey, I bet the best player on the court, or in the field, on the ice, whatever, I always side with that team, because when when the lights are bright, those players come out to play. It's just now, just because South Carolina is it's like the Golden State Warriors. They're just like of whatever. They're just a dominant team. Do I think they're gonna win? Yes. I think Caitlin Clark, for them to win, for Iowa to win, is gonna have to put up like a 40-point triple-double. Like it's gonna have to be one of those. The crazy part is she capable? Yes. So the reason why I'm choosing Iowa the same as you, the plus 6.5, is because she's capable of changing a game. She, is obviously lights out probably the best shooter in college history. And I think Iowa's going to cover. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I do think South Carolina wins, but that Caitlin Clark X factor is enough to buy me. It's enough to buy me the 6.5. I don't care. Iowa can lose by 6. That's all I care. That'll cash my bet. So I think we're definitely on the same page with that. South Carolina is probably going to bring home the national championship tonight, but let's keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, with South Carolina, one thing you have to look at, much to your point, their point differential is so great. They're at a plus 29.5.
Yeah, that's absurd.
I was at 19.5 or 19.9.
Yeah.
My only question, Looch, is South Carolina is one of the most elite defenses in the country. I mean, especially Raven Johnson. She's such a lockdown defender. You talk about Camila Cardoso, they have dogs on that bench. That bench gave Dawn Staley 30 points. I mean, they have a lot of talent from the top down. And I think I don't trust Iowa's defense all the time.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
I don't. I think Hannah Stolke's going to have to really hold her own against Camilla. But also for Clark, she's been not shooting well from deep in this tournament. And it's going to be just like last game. I think South Carolina is going to they're going to suffocate her and force her to trust her teammates. And, that worked out last time. Hannah Stolke had an incredible pick and roll with Caitlin Clark. You had Kate Martin. You had Gabby Marshall come up with a couple of good plays. So this team has a lot of chemistry together, but Luch, it really comes down to that supporting cast.
Yeah. So like I said, she's going to get her double teams. She's going to get it. If her teammates are making their shots, that's the way they're going to win.
Then it's going to, but if they don't, I can see this, honestly, them steamrolling them. Like dumplings.
Yeah. I like them. I think
this could go one or two ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I still think they win. South Carolina takes it, but they have to play. Iowa has to be flawless from the opening tip until the last second.
No room for error.
There's no room for error here, team. I saw a crazy stat where South Carolina over the last 3 seasons are like 108-3 or something.
It's
and like
crazy.
And what are the odds are gonna, like, Iowa was one of the losses. And I saw something where it's like they haven't lost to the same opponent in I don't know how many years. It's an insane amount of time. Like it's hard to beat them twice, but let's see what they can do.
And it's very hard to repeat. Or no, they didn't repeat. LSU won last year. But it's hard to.
It's hard to go to the
2
finals
times in 3 years.
Yeah, it's very difficult just to get to the finals. A lot has to go your way in March Madness, like to win or to go to the finals over and over and over. Like there's. Sometimes you're just not going to have a good shooting day, and they still, over that adversity, they battle through that adversity every time. Sometimes Cardoso, she's not shooting great, but they keep going. Like you said, grid bench.
Yep.
Yeah, they're probably one of the most dominant programs.
Yeah, and to your point, the reason why I love them to cover the spread is because Iowa leads the nation in 91.4 points per game.
Yeah, it's a lot of points.
And they're shooting the rock decent from deep this season. I mean, but you have the best offense versus probably arguably the best defense in the tournament.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's really going to come down to rebounding, where South Carolina actually is so far ahead of them, about 46 per game.
I know I think that's
going to be
the
points rebounding. So I'm giving a light take on this. I would not be surprised if South Carolina rolls over them if these situation happens. And that's why, Luch, we stress smart betting.
Yes.
Small units, because these are championship games.
Championship games,
as much as I want to be confident, I'm really not. So my pick is Iowa 6.5.
Yeah. A lot of people in these finals, because it is the finals, it's the last kind of hurrah. They just bet a larger amount of money just because,
yes.
oh, it's the finals, like, or in the Super Bowl, someone's like, I put 100 on this team. It's because it's the last game. You get excited, but remember.
But it can come back to haunt you because these games are close. They're supposed to be close.
Yeah, these are the two best teams in the nation. Realistically, it's almost a coin flip here. You never know where it's going to go. Caitlin Clark,
you never know,
can shoot 10 for 12 from 3, and you wouldn't bat an eye. You never know. So remember, bet smart. Use your typical unit management. If you want to bet maybe an extra unit today, splurge a little bit, cool, but don't go crazy. Don't go nuts.
Beyond your means.
Don't go beyond your means. Yeah, do not go beyond your means.
So that's going to be at 3:00. We're going to have all of our clips out. I also had, real quick, I had the under. I'm sick of betting overs in college women's basketball because I keep getting burned. So I did have under 116.5 points.
Cool.
That's a lot of points. I do think it's going to be relatively a defensive game.
Yeah.
I would hope on South Carolina's side.
Yeah, I think
if it's anything like UConn, Iowa, I don't know.
Yeah, I like this. Listen, when there's a top defense, like I'd honestly like the under too. I saw a lot of people doing the over, just because they think that Caitlin Clark's gonna go crazy, the South Carolina offense is gonna go nuts. But I do like the under. I really do like the under.
I mean, you almost have to take it because just by watching what we've been watching and in all of the lines, I mean, South Carolina doesn't even allow over 56.5 points per game.
Like that's insane.
They're not going to let Caitlin Clark do what she did to LSU and Kim Mulkey. UConn did not let it happen. And Dawn Staley, who had an open practice the other day, one of the best coaches in the game, is not going to let Caitlin Clark just roll all over them. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you. It's not going to be a shootout. It's not. It's going to be a lot of clamps.
I agree.
It's going to be clamps.
Definitely.
So agree. under 160.5 on FanDuel for -110. I love that value. I'm doing it right now. Hold on.
I love it.
Service unavailable.
Oh, geez.
What does that mean?
Try again.
I got to call FanDuel one moment.
Let me place my under, please.
I can't even. Oh, we're in. Hold on. All right. So how many units are we
I think I'm going 1 unit Hawkeyes plus 6.5. And I'm doing, for my over and under totals, I usually do about half a unit on the over unders just because you never know. So I'm doing 1 unit on Hawkeyes plus 6.5 and half a unit on the under.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put 1 on each. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
It's okay. It's the finals. I like, I like that. Spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So in my tournament, like I said, I had South Carolina in my final 4. Who did I have? South Carolina. Oh yeah. Oh, I had Stanford. That's the only team
I
that
did too.
I
did too.
Yeah.
I had them going all the way. I had them just going to the finals, but
and I picked Iowa over Connecticut.
UConn alum. Hello.
But I bet on UConn. By the way, I did cover UConn 2.5. I did.
That's true. I did see that. I did see that. I saw that in Discord. Yeah.
I covered that. Thank God.
Yeah,
but I actually picked UConn.
Yeah, it's
what a traitor.
Shame. Yeah, that's shameful. Oh man.
All right. Well, switching gears, we have the men's championship game, national championship game Monday.
Yes.
By the way, I did not know they were playing in a fall stadium. Did you see the people there?
It was crazy. But you know what? I saw something crazy. I saw a crazy clip that I'm going to send it to you after this, where the players that were taking free throws, like their perception of, like, how the crowd, like, obviously it's like an upwards angle, whatever. Like, yeah, the crowd looks crazy from where they're taking a free throw, where some of the players came out and said, like, it's weird. Like, the feeling of where you're standing at the free throw line is is something they've never seen before. Like, it's,
well, the stage is up, right?
Yeah, it's weird. But listen, it fills a lot of seats. So at the end of the day, I
don't think I've ever seen a Final Four game in that kind of setting. Or am I just
personally, I haven't, but I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be years ago, but it's crazy. I saw.
Isn't it crazy?
I saw it was kind of nuts.
It was. I was actually afraid somebody was going to fall off that stage. Like, honestly, because of platform.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
So we have, the anticipated matchup, 2 number 1 seeds. Mm-hmm. Purdue back in the Final Four since like 1980, and we have University of Connecticut, who's been the favorite all season long. Yeah. Headed here in the Final Four, UConn is favored by 6.5.
Yeah.
146.5 under over. UConn money line a little juice at 250.
Yeah.
Predictions.
Yeah. I'm actually, I took a different stance this time for this game. I actually think that UConn is gonna just smoke them. I listen, before the tournament started, I have it in Discord. FanDuel offered a $20 bet on to choose your winner, and every time they win a game, you get $5 up to $25, and then you let it go. I chose Purdue at plus 700.
Wow, I mean that was great value.
Yeah,
for
it was the value. UConn was like plus 210, for obvious reasons. They're the best team. They haven't looked. On the women's side, South Carolina had moments of vulnerability.
Yeah.
They were still good.
Yeah.
They were still the best team in the tournament.
Yeah.
UConn has steamrolled everybody. I haven't looked at the game once and been like, oh wow, the other team. Not once. They've
maybe last night against Alabama.
Yeah,
I mean because Alabama, they're a
good
high
team
producing offense.
Yeah, there was not. My point was that at no point in the game where I thought they were going to lose. Not one.
No.
Throughout this whole tournament.
I'm not just saying that as a homer. I'm saying it because they're that good.
Yeah, they're that good. Now, I have Purdue winning whatever at the plus 700. I'm going to hedge and bet on UConn money line just to kind of, because it's $20 to pay 140. I'm probably going to put some juice on UConn money line. So regardless of the outcome, I'm going to win money. So it's a win-win for me. I stayed away from the spread just because, like I said, at the end of the day, when the lights are bright, I always go with the best player. Zach Edey on the court is an absolute monster. He's I'm not going to choose Purdue, but I think he's the difference maker here. Yeah. I went with a different approach, and I think this is fun. And in betting, I would advise doing this. It's almost like an arbitrage bet where, you're trying to find really good value like this. But what I did is there on FanDuel, there's an option to choose an MVP, Final Four MVP winner.
Really?
Yeah. So the two best odds on it were Zach Edey at plus 220 and Klingon at plus 185.
Oh, that's like plus money.
Yeah, plus. So
that's crazy.
What I did, because whatever team wins the national championship, these two men are the reason why. They got them here. They're 100%. The leaders. So I did 1 unit on Zach Edey plus 220, 1 unit on Klingon at plus 185. And worst case scenario, if one of those two win the Final Four, I make money.
Yep.
Worst case scenario. So if let's just say, crazy. So I did. It's a little strategy that I've been doing for a couple years now, just to kind of put some extra money in your pocket. It's not you're not going to make thousands of dollars, but if you put, for example, $10 on Edey at plus 210 and $10 on Klingon at plus 185, you are actually going to come out. If Klingon wins, you're going to win $8.50. If Edey wins, you're going to win $11. If you put a $10 bet on each.
So it's going to work out.
So instead of picking a winner, I think these two gentlemen are the reasons why.
That is so smart. I love that.
Yeah, I think these two gentlemen are the reason why their teams got there. I think they're going to be the reason why their team wins. So instead of choosing, listen, I'll be honest, I'm kind of leaning UConn, but I don't feel like playing the juice for a final game. So my two bets today are Zach Edey, Final Four MVP, Donovan Klingon, Final Four MVP at plus 220 and plus 185.
Love that. I love that you spin on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to just play a little bit of a little bit of strategy. Different. Yeah, it's a little fun for the finals. So I could sit back, enjoy the finals, watch these guys ball out, and at the end of the day, if one of these guys' names are called, we make some money, and I get to enjoy my Sunday.
I love that.
I don't have to pick a side. Or sorry, Monday.
That's
it's
amazing.
Fun. Yeah, it's not available everywhere, but where I am in Canada, it's available. Yeah.
I know Canada is everything, man. We gotta move there for betting.
It was like the Usher stuff in the Super Bowl. We got it all. The novelty bets.
You cashed out on all that.
Yeah, it's fun. Like we get a lot of options here, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and much to your point, listen, if there's any team I watched more this season, it was UConn,
absolutely,
men's and women, just because I'm in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt Zach Edey is the main guy on this team.
Yeah.
Any guy that's averaged 30 and 15, that hook shot is just so
oh my gosh,
iconic.
It's lethal. It's just so lethal.
It is. And they're going to have, a tough matchup with UConn. And the last time these two teams played was 2009.
That's kind of crazy.
UConn won 72-60. The only thing about Purdue I'm going to say, and maybe this is a little bit of a hot take, is that I thought, I don't know if they were letting their foot off the gas, but I wasn't really impressed with that win over NC State, 63-50. There was nothing that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
Besides them shooting 40% from the three, but they struggled from the field a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
And
they did.
They have some guys like Lawyer and Jones, but I worry about you got to understand that Dan Hurley and the Huskies are different. They got a different mentality.
They're different.
They're different. And I went to the Northwestern game. I went to the Stetson game. Like, I was so bored. I was in the drink line like 4 times because I swear I was at the Parkways.
Yeah.
I was so bored.
Yeah.
And this team is just uber talented. And yes, Donovan Clingan is a rim protecting blocking machine, but you have to look at everybody that surrounds UConn. You have Stephon Castle, who's probably not going to be there too long. You have Tristan Newton, AP All-American. You have Cam Spencer, who,
so
even their bench players are amazing. Johnson with those alley-oops and rim protection. I mean, this team is good. Alex Caravan, a stretch 4 that can shoot the 3. I do not see any holes in this game, Luch. I'm being serious.
I know.
From their shot percentages to their lethal defense to their perimeter defense. I mean, yes, they allowed Alabama to shoot over 40% from the 3, and they still covered the 8.5 point
That's
spread.
what I mean. That it's just too dominant. that's the crazy part. They're just too dominant.
Right. So I have UConn 6.5. I'm rolling with that. They've been like you said. I love the word steamroll today. It just reminds me of dumplings. It's just
I think your snack for the women's game today is, I think dumplings are going to be had for lunch.
Dumpling.
I think the food of the day.
Both these teams are 5-0 against the spread in tournament games. UConn covered the 10 spread.
Yeah.
This is why I have UConn minus 6.5.
Yeah.
They covered the 10-point spread against Alabama. They covered the 8-point spread against Illinois. 12-point spread against San Diego State,
These are
who has
good teams.
decent defense.
Yeah.
Northwestern, they had 13 spread, and Stetson 27.5. This team has a very large point differential. Yeah. They're locking up on defense. They're making plays. They have their actions. If it's not going to work through Donovan Clingan, guess what? It's going to work in their backcourt.
Yeah.
And all 5 of those guys all 4 of those guys can shoot.
Yeah.
So I think to UConn's advantage, the fact that Edey doesn't play 5 out and can't shoot from the 3, it's really going to be him and Clingan who's going to control those boards.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be, Purdue leads. That's going to be the difference. But again, UConn's 9-1 against the spread in their last 10.
Just crazy. And the number's lower because it's a final. Like, it makes sense, but they're going to.
And this is a hot take. Take it if you want it. I think Alabama is a better team than Purdue.
Ooh, okay.
I do. I really do. I think they're a better shooting team. They're a better offensive team.
Yeah.
Purdue has better defense.
Yeah.
And they have Zach Edey. Because they have Zach Edey, it doesn't make them the better team.
It's true.
And there's a reason why they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson last year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this, but Alabama is a very, very good offensive team. And we let them shoot like crazy, and we still cover the 10.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm confident in that. I'm not touching the over or the under.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I agree. Now,
but I would even take Connecticut at 250. It's a little juice, but
I was gonna say something. If you're confident in South Carolina?
Yep.
You're confident in UConn. I actually didn't even think. I don't know why I didn't.
You
think
can
of this
parlay
before.
them for plus money, right?
It's actually minus 113 for both.
Okay.
But that's not like, considering how dominant these organizations are, I feel like that's not even bad. Like, that's not horrendous value right there. Minus 113 on foul.
No, that's almost plus money when you really. I mean, that's
great
little value.
I know. I think a little bankroll builder there for minus 113 for these 2 programs. Which I was gonna parlay it with Iowa like plus 10.5, but
I don't know if you can even manipulate the lines like that in a championship game, can you?
The odds aren't great. No, you know what? See, this is the sad part. You could do it in the men's game, but I can't do it on the women's game right now.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The fact that we can't juice or move the lines in the women's game, that's tough. It's going.
I agree. I was trying to mix up the lines where I do like Purdue, let's just say plus 12.5 or 11.5, and Iowa plus 10.5, and kind of do that. But I'm gonna do South Carolina, UConn, put my money where my mouth is. The two, the better teams, the dominant teams. Minus 113, I'll put like I'm going to do a unit on that too, actually.
I like that.
Yeah, just two just great teams. I can't hate on that.
I'm a little compelled to take the under, seeing that the Huskies are 1-9 against totals in the last 10, but I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, just take. I think the points.
It's so compelling, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to touch that.
Are more than enough, honestly.
But speaking of this game, we are partnered with an app called Juice Reel. Make sure you guys download it. It covers all the NCAA. If you look at it right now, you can see where the money is going, where the best bettors are putting their money on, the worst bettors. So right now, something called Sharp Mush. 100% is on Connecticut for the spread. You can look at all the lines. It looks like DraftKings has the best. It's -6 right now. Okay. I do expect this line to move to 7.5 or 8.
Ooh, okay.
I really do. I expect this line to move. I think, it's smart to maybe grab it right now if you're thinking of getting the spread. But for the money line, it's about 50-50 right now.
Really?
It's 50-50.
Wow. Okay.
And I mean, it's a great tool. You can sync your bets. Yeah. So we're going to play a little bit something for you about the Juice Reel app, but download it. Make sure to follow me or Looch or Balls Life Bets. Yeah. And check it out.
Yeah.
The sports bettor's best friend. That's what people are calling the new Juice Reels app. Juice Reels is a free app that teaches you how to bet smarter by syncing your data from over 300 plus sports books. Browse the best lines, props, and futures, and even break down your bet success by team, sport, and sportsbook. The My Bets tab shows you how your bets are performing in real time, based on what's happening in the game, updating with every play. In the Performance tab, you have access to statistics on all of your past performances and closed bets, whether it be day, month, year, or all time. In the Arbitrage page, Juice Reels gives you guaranteed to win betting opportunities. This happens when sportsbooks offer different odds on the same bet. And with Juice Reels, you have access to the Arbitrage Juicer feature, which will give you real-time notifications when arbitrage opportunities pop up. Use Juice Reels to compare the lines and confidently decide which bet is best for you. And with their Bet Tracker analytics, you'll know which strategy is more likely to work for you, allowing you to make the smartest bets. Find out why people are calling Juice Reels the sports bettor's best friend and download the free Juice Reels app today, available on Apple and Android.
All right, so there you have it. Juice Reel, make sure you download it in Google Play or Apple Store.
Yep.
It's a great app to use.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that should do it today. Looch, if you want to just recap your bets one more time.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go with the Iowa Hawkeyes plus 6.5 for today. I think Caitlin Clark's going to be good enough to keep it close. I'm going to tail your under the 160 under, and I'm going to go UConn minus 6.5 as well. And then for my personal bets, I'm going to do Zach Edey, Finals 4 MVP, and Donovan Clingan, Finals 4 MVP. I get to sit back, enjoy both games, sweat out a little bit. Remember, bet responsibly. Don't go crazy. It's finals games. I'm going to have a half a unit to a unit on each. Don't go nuts. Enjoy the finals. Win a little bit of money with us. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I could tell your bets, but I can't.
I know. I know. It's sad that it's not everywhere.
Love that,
but
though.
Yeah. So let's see. I just want, as long as one of those names get called at the end of the night for MVP, I'm good. I'm happy.
So like you, I have Iowa plus 6.5 tonight, and I'm taking the under 160.5. I'm taking my UConn Huskies minus 6.5 at 105 on FanDuel.
Beautiful.
So championship game is tomorrow for the men's. Women's today. We want to thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
we'll get back on a little bit of a better schedule. I know a lot of stuff is coming up. We have the NBA playoffs coming up, a little bit of Masters. So appreciate you, Looch. Hopefully we cash out.
Yeah, we're cashing out. We're going to see you guys next week when we're going to have another episode.
Yep. And make sure to follow Looch on socials, myself on socials, Ball's Life Bets on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere.
Join the Discord. Yeah, join the Discord every night. Somebody's hitting bets. You don't want to miss out. Any sport you pick, soccer, hockey, basketball, football, you name it, join the Discord. You're going to want to be there. And let's make money together.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one.